The quantum resonance chamber hummed with a frequency that should not exist. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's fingers hovered motionless over the holographic interface, her dark eyes reflecting a cascade of impossible data. The communication array she'd been calibrating for months, a pet project funded by a consortium of international research institutions, had just captured something that would shatter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Static crackled, then resolved into a complex geometric pattern of communication. Not random noise. Not human. Definitely not earthly. Dr. Rodriguez called her assistant, Miguel Santos, the signal. "I know," she interrupted, her voice a controlled whisper. The transmission wasn't just a random burst of extraterrestrial communication. It was a battle plan. A detailed, meticulously crafted invasion strategy targeting Earth, cataloging human weaknesses with surgical precision. Decades of observation had been compressed into a data stream that spoke of cold, calculated malevolence. The Zornak Imperium, as the transmission identified itself, viewed Earth as nothing more than a resource to be harvested. Humanity was classified as a pre-sentient species, biological matter to be processed, populations to be sorted and utilized. Their technology assessments made it clear. They saw humans as slightly more sophisticated than livestock. Miguel's hands were shaking as he pulled up the translation protocols. "They've been watching us. For decades." Elena's mind was already racing. The transmission detailed invasion vectors, potential resistance points, and most chillingly, proposed population management strategies. Major cities were already marked as primary capture zones. Military installations had been thoroughly mapped. Critical infrastructure had been analyzed down to individual power grid connections. Within 30 minutes, Elena had transmitted encrypted data packages to a network of trusted colleagues, military strategists, quantum physicists, cybersecurity experts scattered across the globe. Each package contained fragments of the transmission, requiring collaborative decryption. Thousands of kilometers away, in a nondescript military command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Marcus Chen was the first to fully comprehend the implications. As a tactical integration specialist, he'd spent years developing contingency protocols for scenarios that most considered impossible. "This is not a drill," he spoke into a secure communication channel that bypassed traditional military hierarchies. "Planetary Defense Protocol Omega is now active." Across the globe, a network that had existed only in whispers and top-secret memos began to pulse with life. Quantum communication nodes, disguised as everything from weather satellites to telecommunications relays, started to synchronize. What appeared to be standard civilian infrastructure transformed into a planetary defensive grid. Schools, research facilities, technology centers, all received coded activation signals. Ordinary citizens would see nothing. But beneath the surface, humanity was preparing for a fight few knew was coming. The Zornak believed they were approaching a primitive species, ripe for conquest. They had no comprehension of the adaptive intelligence they were about to encounter. Every scan, every calculation in their transmission was simultaneously a weapon and a vulnerability, and humanity was already beginning to understand how to turn their own technology against them. Elena Rodriguez looked at the transmission one more time, a slight smile crossing her face. The Zornak had made a fundamental mistake. They had forgotten that humanity's greatest strength was never in its individual parts, but in its ability to become something greater when truly challenged. The first Zornak energy weapon struck Tokyo at 3:47 Greenwich Mean Time, transforming the night sky into a canvas of apocalyptic green. Massive plasma discharges carved through skyscrapers like they were made of paper, vaporizing entire city blocks in milliseconds. What the aliens didn't realize was that every destructive pulse was also a transmission, a data signature that humanity was already learning to decode. In the mobile command center buried beneath the Rocky Mountains, Marcus Chen watched multiple holographic displays simultaneously. Each screen showed a different global perspective. Satellite imagery, military communications, civilian network feeds. His fingers danced across quantum-encrypted interfaces, routing and redirecting defensive protocols faster than any single human mind could comprehend. "Adaptive response team, go live," he commanded, his voice steady despite the carnage unfolding across the planet. Scattered research facilities that had seemed unconnected moments before began to synchronize. A quantum physics lab in Mumbai, a cybersecurity center in Sao Paulo, an experimental AI research facility in Cambridge. They were no longer isolated nodes, but a single, breathing organism of human intelligence. 17-year-old Arya Patel wasn't supposed to be a key player in humanity's defense, but when the Mumbai attack began, her after-school hacking collective quickly realized something extraordinary. The alien weapon frequencies carried more than destructive energy. They carried information. Complex, encrypted, but not indecipherable. "It's a communication protocol," Arya whispered into her encrypted comlink. "They're not just attacking. They're talking." Within hours, what had begun as a seemingly hopeless planetary bombardment transformed. Each alien strike became a data point, each energy pulse a potential vulnerability. The Zornak were methodical, precise, and fatally predictable. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked alongside a global team of researchers, their consciousness linked through advanced neural sync technology. Traditional boundaries of nationality, specialty, and even individual thought began to blur. They were becoming something more, a distributed intelligence that could process information at speeds the Zornak couldn't comprehend. "The weapon's signatures create quantum resonance patterns," Elena explained to Marcus through a secure channel. "Every time they fire, they're essentially broadcasting their entire technological infrastructure." The first human counterstrikes were nothing like traditional warfare. No missiles, no conventional weapons. Instead, the response was information. Precise, targeted quantum disruptions that began to unravel the Zornak's technological defenses from the inside. In orbit, experimental satellite networks that had been disguised as communications relays transformed. Each one became a node in a planetary defense grid, redirecting and absorbing alien weapon energy. What looked like standard telecommunications infrastructure was actually a sophisticated planet-wide adaptive defense system. The Zornak fleet commanders watched in increasing confusion. Their precise calculations, their meticulously planned invasion, it was all falling apart. Humanity wasn't just resisting. It was learning, adapting, transforming with each moment of contact. A ground team in Rio de Janeiro captured a damaged Zornak reconnaissance drone. Within minutes, international researchers were dissecting its technology, each discovery becoming an instant global resource. The aliens had assumed technological superiority. They were about to learn the true meaning of human innovation. Marcus Chen allowed himself the slightest smile. The real battle was just beginning, and humanity was far from defeated. In fact, they were just getting started. The global transformation happened with breathtaking speed. Universities worldwide suspended standard operations, their entire infrastructure redirected toward a single critical mission: understanding and countering the alien threat. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's Quantum Adaptive Armor Project, once a theoretical research concept, became humanity's most critical technological frontier. Working from a converted research facility in the Andes, her team had discovered something extraordinary. A material that didn't just defend, but actively learned and reconfigured itself based on incoming energy signatures. "It's not about stopping the attack," Elena explained to her core team, a group of researchers from 12 different countries, their faces projected on a massive holographic display. "It's about understanding the attack, absorbing it, and then turning it into something useful." The first prototype was nothing short of miraculous. A small patch of the adaptive material, when exposed to a captured Zornak weapon signature, began to shift its molecular structure. Microscopic quantum processors woven into the fabric analyzed each energy pulse, creating a real-time defensive and offensive capability that defied conventional physics. Halfway across the world, In a research station nestled in the Antarctic waste, an unexpected team of climate engineers was revolutionizing humanity's defensive strategy. Led by Dr. Kai Nkosi, a brilliant South African computational ecologist, the team applied their complex climate modeling techniques to predict and counter alien strategic movements. Invasion patterns are just another form of complex system, Kai told his team, his fingers dancing across holographic projections that mapped potential alien attack routes. We've been studying complex adaptive systems our entire careers. This is just another model, just with much higher stakes. Their algorithms became the backbone of humanity's strategic defense. What the Zornak saw as precise, calculated invasions, the human team saw as predictable patterns waiting to be disrupted. Marcus Chen integrated these diverse research streams into a unified planetary defense protocol. Schools were converted into research nodes, every connected device a potential part of a global quantum communication network. Teenagers in coding clubs, research scientists, military strategists, all became part of a distributed intelligence that was learning faster than any single entity could comprehend. In Mumbai, Arya Patel's hacking collective discovered a breakthrough that would change everything. By piggybacking communication signals onto the alien weapon frequencies, they created a method of communication that the Zornak couldn't distinguish from their own technological transmissions. "We're not just defending," Arya explained during a global encrypted broadcast. "We're speaking their language, and we're about to have a very interesting conversation." The Zornak had approached Earth believing they were dealing with a primitive fractured species. Instead, they found themselves confronting a planetary intelligence that could adapt, learn, and transform at a rate that defied their most advanced predictive models. Universities that had been competing for research grants now worked in perfect synchronization. Military research facilities shared data with civilian research centers. The traditional boundaries of human collaboration dissolved, replaced by a single, unified purpose. Dr. Elena Rodriguez looked at the latest test results of the quantum adaptive armor and allowed herself a small smile. The Zornak were about to learn a fundamental truth about humanity. We don't just survive. We evolve. The Zornak transmission was designed to break humanity's spirit. Massive holographic displays erupted across global communication networks, showing simulated destructions of major cities, brutal population control scenarios, and what the aliens considered the inevitable subjugation of Earth. Instead, they unleashed something they could never have anticipated. Within hours, the terrifying alien propaganda became a global phenomenon of resistance. Social media exploded with a tsunami of human creativity that transformed fear into defiance. Memes mocking the alien transmission went viral faster than the Zornak could track. Artists, comedians, musicians, and ordinary citizens turned the invasion's psychological warfare into a weapon of their own. A street artist in Rio de Janeiro painted a massive mural depicting the alien fleet as bumbling bureaucrats, each ship a comically oversized paper-pushing machine. The image went global within minutes, translated into hundreds of languages, becoming a symbol of human resilience and dark humor. Marcus Chen watched the psychological response with a strategic eye. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, his team analyzed the global reaction. This wasn't just resistance. It was a collective psychological jiu-jitsu that was turning the aliens' most powerful weapon against them. "They don't understand us," Marcus muttered to Dr. Rodriguez during a secure video conference. "Every attempt to break our spirit only makes us stronger." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A live stream from a small resistance group in a partially destroyed sector of São Paulo captured the world's imagination. Led by Maria Santos, a former emergency response coordinator, the group had transformed a ruined city block into a makeshift research and resistance center. "We are not victims," Maria declared in a broadcast that went viral globally. "We are humanity, and we adapt." Her team demonstrated this adaptation in real time. Using captured alien technology, makeshift communication equipment, and pure human ingenuity, they were turning debris into defensive infrastructure. Each destroyed building became a potential research site, each piece of alien technology a learning opportunity. The Zornak had a critical weakness they hadn't recognized. Their entire conquest strategy relied on inducing hopelessness, a psychological mechanism that had worked on hundreds of previous species. Humanity didn't just reject this approach, they weaponized their response. Global communication networks began to change. What had once been separate, competitive platforms became a unified system of information and resistance. Universities opened free online courses teaching everything from quantum physics to psychological resistance. Coding bootcamps transformed into tactical information networks. Arya Patel and her global network of young hackers took the psychological warfare to another level. They began intercepting and rebroadcasting Zornak communications, adding layers of human context, humor, and defiance. Each alien transmission became a global event of analysis and mockery. Dr. Elena Rodriguez discovered something even more profound. The quantum communication patterns in the alien transmissions contained more than just strategic information. They were a form of psychological control, a technological method of inducing fear and submission that had worked on countless species before. Humanity was different. Every attempt to control only made them more determined. In command centers, research facilities, and makeshift resistance groups around the world, a single message became clear. We are not afraid. We are humanity. And we are just getting started. Mars became the crucible of humanity's transformation. What the Zornak considered a strategic staging ground, humans saw as an opportunity for total reinvention. The abandoned research stations dotting the Martian landscape were never truly abandoned. For decades, international space agencies had maintained a network of seemingly dormant facilities, each one a potential fortress waiting to be activated. As the first Zornak invasion ships approached the Red Planet's orbit, these stations revealed their true purpose. Marcus Chen coordinated the Mars defense from a quantum-encrypted command center that seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Space mining equipment, originally designed for resource extraction, transformed into a defensive network of unprecedented complexity. Orbital communication relays became precision strike platforms. Automated research drones, programmed with adaptive AI, began to systematically deconstruct the approaching alien fleet's technological defenses. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum adaptive armor found its ultimate testing ground on Mars. The thin atmosphere and reduced gravity became a laboratory for technological innovation that defied everything the Zornak understood about defensive capabilities. It's not about stopping them, Elena explained to her global team during a real-time holographic conference. It's about understanding them so completely that their own technology becomes their weakness. A breakthrough came from an unexpected collaboration. A team of climate engineers, quantum physicists, and former space mining experts discovered how to manipulate the magnetic fields surrounding Mars. What appeared to be standard planetary research became a massive defensive mechanism, creating quantum interference patterns that disrupted alien weapon systems. The first major engagement surprised even the most optimistic human strategists. The Zornak fleet, expecting a quick subjugation, found themselves facing a planet that was literally fighting back. Automated defense systems emerged from seemingly dormant research stations. Orbital platforms that had appeared to be simple communication relays transformed into intricate defensive networks. Arya Patel and her global network of young researchers played a crucial role. By intercepting and analyzing Zornak communication protocols, they developed a method of technological mimicry that allowed human systems to infiltrate alien networks. Each alien communication became a potential vulnerability, each transmission a doorway into their most protected systems. The battle for Mars lasted less than 17 hours, but those 17 hours fundamentally changed the nature of the conflict. The Zornak lost more than ships. They lost their understanding of what resistance could mean. Maria Santos led a ground team that captured a critically damaged alien vessel. Within hours, international research teams were dissecting its technology, each discovery becoming an instant global resource. The aliens had assumed technological superiority. They were about to learn the true meaning of human innovation. "We're not just defending," Marcus Chen remarked to his command team, watching the Mars engagement data stream in. "We're rewriting the rules of engagement." Scattered research facilities that had seemed unconnected moments before began to synchronize. A quantum physics lab in Mumbai, a cybersecurity center in Sao Paulo, an experimental AI research facility in Cambridge. They were no longer isolated nodes, but a single breathing organism of human intelligence. The Zornak had made a fundamental miscalculation. They believed they were fighting a species. Instead, they were confronting a planetary intelligence that could adapt, learn, and transform at a rate that defied their most advanced predictive models. Humanity was not just surviving. It was evolving in real time. The news of humanity's resistance spread through galactic communication networks like a quantum pulse, reaching species that had long been subjugated by the Zornak Imperium. What began as a localized conflict became a beacon of possibility for countless oppressed civilizations. Marcus Chen found himself in a role he never anticipated, a diplomatic envoy to species humanity had never known existed. The first contact protocols developed by generations of xenobiologists, linguists, and communication experts were now being put to their ultimate test. In a massive orbital conference chamber constructed from repurposed alien technology, representatives from 13 different subjugated species watched in a mixture of hope and disbelief. Marcus stood before holographic displays that showed humanity's defense against the Zornak, each moment of resistance translated into multiple alien languages and communication protocols. "We're not offering liberation," Marcus explained, his words carefully translated through advanced quantum communication systems. "We're offering a different approach to coexistence." Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked simultaneously on multiple fronts. The vast technological archives captured from the Zornak fleet were more than just a military prize. They were a key to understanding galactic dynamics that had remained hidden for millennia. Each decoded transmission revealed not just military strategies, but complex social structures, technological paradigms, and communication methods of species the Zornak had conquered. Ariapidal's global network of researchers transformed these archives into something unprecedented. What started as a military intelligence operation became the most comprehensive xenorchaeological project in known galactic history. Young researchers from every continent worked in real-time collaboration, breaking down barriers of language, culture, and traditional academic boundaries. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A team of linguists and quantum communication experts discovered that the Zornak's communication protocols contained fundamental flaws, mathematical inconsistencies that suggested their entire technological paradigm was built on a form of collective thinking that couldn't adapt to individual innovation. "They're a hive mind," Dr. Rodriguez explained during a global broadcast, "but not in the way we initially thought. Their collective intelligence is actually a limitation, not a strength." Encoded messages began to reach other subjugated species. These weren't calls to rebellion, but invitations to dialogue. Humanity demonstrated something revolutionary, a form of resistance that wasn't about destruction, but about creating alternative possibilities. Maria Santos led a diplomatic team that began developing communication protocols with species that had been isolated for generations. Each conversation was a delicate dance of translation, understanding, and mutual respect. The Zornak watched in growing horror as their carefully constructed galactic order began to unravel. Species they had considered permanently subjugated were now receiving transmissions of hope, technological exchange offers, and most terrifyingly, practical methods of resistance. "We're not just fighting a war," Marcus Chen told his command team. "We're offering a new model of galactic interaction." The technological archives revealed something even more profound. The Zornak's method of conquest wasn't just military. It was a form of systematic cultural and technological suppression. By controlling information, communication, and technological development, they had kept conquered species in a state of perpetual subjugation. Humanity's response was elegantly simple: open communication, technological sharing, a fundamental belief that innovation knows no boundaries. The galactic landscape was changing, and humanity was at the center of a transformation no one had anticipated. The human offensive was nothing like traditional warfare. It was a surgical intervention of unprecedented complexity, a multi-layered approach that simultaneously dismantled the Zornak's technological, social, and political infrastructure. Marcus Chen coordinated from a mobile command center that was itself a marvel of adaptive technology. Unlike traditional military strategies, this offensive was less about destruction and more about systematic deconstruction. Each targeted intervention was carefully calculated to minimize loss of life while maximizing systemic disruption. Dr. Elena Rodriguez led a team that had transformed the captured Zornak technological archives into a comprehensive understanding of the alien civilization. They weren't just preparing for war. They were conducting a holistic analysis that would fundamentally reshape galactic understanding. "We're not conquering," Elena explained to her international team of researchers, strategists, and diplomats. "We're providing an alternative." The first major strike targeted the Zornak's quantum communication network, the central nervous system of their galactic control. Instead of destroying it, humanity's most brilliant minds began to subtly reshape its fundamental operational parameters. Communication channels that once enforced control now became conduits of information exchange. Ariapadel's global network of young researchers played a crucial role. They developed quantum encryption methods that could penetrate the Zornak's most secure communication channels. What began as a defensive technique transformed into a tool of liberation for subjugated species across multiple star systems. Maria Santos led diplomatic teams that worked in perfect synchronization with the technological offensive. While one team disrupted communication networks, another offered alternative governance models to species long oppressed by the Zornak Imperium. It was warfare conducted through information, opportunity, and hope. The Zornak's technological superiority became their greatest weakness. Their centralized control system, which had worked for millennia, could not adapt to the distributed, adaptive intelligence of humanity and its growing coalition of liberated species. Experimental space mining equipment became precision strike platforms. Orbital research stations transformed into defensive and communication networks. Every piece of captured technology was not just a weapon, but a potential bridge to understanding. A breakthrough came from an unexpected collaboration. A team combining quantum physicists, linguists, and former space exploration experts discovered how to create quantum communication disruptions that didn't destroy alien networks, but fundamentally transformed them. "We're rewriting the code of galactic interaction," Marcus Chen told his command team, watching real-time displays of the offensive's progress. Not through conquest, but through possibility. The offensive targeted critical infrastructure with surgical precision. Communication relays were repurposed rather than destroyed. Technological control centers were systematically transformed into open-source research facilities. Military installations became diplomatic exchange centers. Each intervention was accompanied by a comprehensive information campaign. Subjugated species received not just the means of resistance, but practical models of technological and social cooperation. It was a form of warfare that defied every conventional understanding of conflict. The Zornak watched in increasing desperation as their carefully constructed galactic order began to unravel. Their centralized intelligence, which had been their greatest strength, became their most critical vulnerability. Humanity had discovered something profound. True power wasn't about control, but about creating possibilities. As the offensive continued, it became clear that this was more than a war. It was a fundamental reimagining of how civilizations could interact, communicate, and grow together. The war concluded not with a final battle, but with a moment of profound transformation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the newly established Galactic Collaborative Research Center, constructed from the remnants of the Zornak's most advanced facility. Around her, researchers from 17 different species worked side by side, their communication transcending traditional linguistic barriers through quantum translation matrices. Marcus Chen watched from a nearby observation deck, reflecting on the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. The conflict hadn't been about defeating the Zornak, but about demonstrating a fundamentally different approach to cosmic interaction. The captured Zornak fleet became the foundation of a new interstellar initiative. Each ship, once a weapon of conquest, was now being transformed into a research vessel, a diplomatic center, a bridge between civilizations that had been isolated for millennia. Arya Patel, now leading the Galactic Communication and Integration Research Team, had become a symbol of humanity's approach. Her global network of researchers had evolved into a truly interstellar collaborative platform. Young scientists from liberated species worked together, sharing knowledge, breaking down the technological and cultural barriers that the Zornak had maintained for generations. The transformation wasn't just technological, it was fundamentally social. The quantum communication networks that the Zornak had used for control now became channels of unprecedented cultural exchange. Species that had been isolated for centuries began to share their histories, their technologies, their unique perspectives on existence. Maria Santos led the Diplomatic Reconstruction Initiative, working to help previously subjugated species develop their own governance models. It wasn't about imposing a human system, but about providing tools, resources, and support for self-determination. "We're not here to replace one form of control with another," Maria explained during a multi-species broadcast. "We're here to create possibilities." The captured Zornak technological archives revealed something even more profound. The aliens' method of galactic control had been based on a fundamental misunderstanding of intelligence. They saw diversity as a weakness, while humanity recognized it as the ultimate strength. Scientific breakthroughs emerged at an unprecedented rate. A joint research team developed faster-than-light communication technologies that would have been impossible under the Zornak's restrictive systems. Medical researchers from different species collaborated on treatments that could save billions of lives across multiple planetary systems. The economic models that emerged were equally revolutionary. Instead of competition, the new galactic framework emphasized collaborative resource development. Species shared technological innovations, worked together on planetary challenges, and created a network of mutual support that defied previous understanding of interstellar relations. Dr. Rodriguez looked at the holographic displays showing collaborative research projects, communication networks, and diplomatic exchanges. What had begun as a defensive war had transformed into something much more significant, a new way of understanding cosmic potential. Marcus Chen approached her, a slight smile crossing his face. "We did more than win a war," he said quietly. "We showed what's possible." Elena completed his thought. The Zornak's greatest miscalculation had been simple. They believed that control was the ultimate expression of power. Humanity demonstrated that true strength lies in collaboration, innovation, and the ability to see potential where others see only limitation. As the first generation of truly integrated galactic researchers continued their work, it became clear that the real victory wasn't about defeating an enemy. It was about creating a future none of them could have imagined alone.